Under the shadow of a blood-red sun, the fields of Cannae whispered tales of betrayal and valour to the ears of the living. Here, the spirits of fallen legions stirred, mourning in silence the brutal choreography that shaped history. It is a story draped in shadows and laced with the anxiety of Julius Caesar's dire warnings, an echo of fear that reverberated through Rome, reminding them of the dreadful cunning of Hannibal's perfect envelopment. Ancient voices speak of a battlefield suffocated by the stench of sweat and death, where soldiers stood at Hell's Gate, their honour tested amidst chaos and superstition. Journey with me now into a world where Rome's ambitions met one of its darkest defeats, a shadow that Julius Caesar would later reflect upon in his own storied career. The Battle of Cannae, fought on August 2nd, 216 BCE, was not just a defeat, it was a calamity that left an indelible scar on Roman history. On that infamous day, Hannibal Barca unleashed a tactical masterpiece that wiped out the Roman legions, a name whispered in horror and used in cautionary tales for centuries to come. Julius Caesar, a military genius himself, would later bring up Cannae in his writings, particularly in Commentari de Bello Civile. He viewed it as a stark reminder of the pitfalls of arrogance and inflexible military doctrine. To Caesar, Cannae exemplified the devastating consequences of underestimating a shrewd and adaptable adversary. It was a dire warning that reverberated through the halls of Roman power, urging caution and respect for the unpredictable nature of war and governance. The implications of Cannae extended far beyond the battlefield. For the Roman psyche, it was a haunting spectre that signified vulnerability in the heart of an empire that prided itself on invincibility. Caesar, fully aware of this psychological wound, leveraged it in shaping his own military and political strategies. His actions on the battlefield were guided by a keen understanding that Cannae had underscored the importance of adaptability and strategic innovation, a lesson starkly ignored by the Roman commanders who met their fate under Hannibal's encirclement. Caesar's campaigns in Gaul and against Pompey bore the imprint of the Cannae experience. He emphasised flexibility and situational awareness, understanding from Cannae the critical need for intelligence and reconnaissance. The echoes of that fateful day served as a perpetual reminder in Caesar's mind that military prowess required not just strength, but also cunning and foresight. His narratives painted Cannae as a vehicle for learning, adapting to enemies' movements, and fostering an agile approach in warfare and decision-making. The defeat at Cannae was also a tool in Caesar's political arsenal. He exploited the fear of a similar catastrophe to rally the Roman populace and shore up his support. The memory of Cannae was not merely historical, it was living, breathing, a force that Caesar harnessed to instill unity and vigilance. In his orations and writings, Caesar evoked the dread of Cannae to inspire urgency and loyalty, positioning himself as the antidote to past missteps, a leader who could navigate Rome through its darkest trials. Beyond politics and military tactics, Cannae resonated with deeper societal impacts. It tore through the social fabric of Rome, devastating the senatorial and equestrian classes, instigating a wave of political upheaval. Caesar, cognizant of these social ripples, crafted his narrative to underscore the resilience required to rebuild Rome's spirit and institutions. To him, Cannae was a narrative thread that woven through the culture, reminding Rome of its frailties and hidden strengths. Yet Caesar's vision was not only of past downfall, but also of redemption. He saw in Cannae the seeds of renewal, Rome's capacity to rise from ashes through strategic learning and reform. The catastrophic loss became a cornerstone for progress, a catalyst for the eventual transformation of Rome into a more dynamic and resilient entity. Under Caesar's influence, the lesson of Cannae morphed from a tale of defeat to one of rebirth and evolution, a testament to Rome's unyielding spirit. The stories of Cannae, immortalised in the literary and historical canons, lived on as cautionary tales laden with vivid imagery and grave lessons. Caesar understood the power of such narratives, weaving them into his speeches to create a continuous thread through Roman memory, calling upon the ghosts of history to guide his present. The cultural resonance of Cannae ensured that its memory would never fade, a spectre that hovered to warn and to teach, shaping the ideals of courage, wisdom, and humility in the Roman ethos. In wielding the memory of Cannae, Caesar effectively shaped perceptions, controlling the narrative of Rome's military and cultural standing. This tale of catastrophe and gambling lessons accrued from it was a perpetual guide in his quest for power and reform, establishing a legacy of strategic brilliance and adaptability. Cannae's haunting legacy, though a stark reminder of human fallibility, was ultimately an instrument of potential, reminding an empire of both its weaknesses and the fortitude to overcome. As the chapter closes, the ghost of Cannae stands as an enduring witness to Rome's complex journey through power, vulnerability, and resurgence. For Caesar, it was a lesson deeply etched into the annals of history and Roman consciousness, a poignant reminder of past follies transformed into stepping stones toward an era of enlightened ambition and growth. The Battle of Cannae was more than a clash between the Romans and Carthaginians. It was an exhibition of raw strategic genius that continues to fascinate. At its heart was Hannibal Barca, a general whose daring moves, such as his legendary Alpine crossing with elephants, had already etched his name into history's annals. Surveying the fertile Apulian plain, Hannibal understood the theatre of war that unfolded before him. By choosing Cannae, flanked by the river Aufidus, he set a stage where the Roman legion's numerical superiority would be rendered moot. This decision, a testament to his mastery over geography and psychology, aimed to draw the Romans into an engagement dictated entirely on his terms. On the other side stood the Roman army, brimming with confidence and soldiers skilled in direct confrontation. Led by consuls Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro, they marched with the belief that their sheer numbers and military discipline would crush any opposition. Yet they had walked right into Hannibal's web, a trap patiently laid under the scorching Apulian sun. It was a concoction of subtle feints and psychological ploys that would enshrine Hannibal in the chronicles of military history. Hannibal's strategy hinged on an initial illusion of weakness. His forces formed a crescent-shaped line, with a bulge in its centre composed of his least reliable troops, the Gauls and Spaniards. This apparent vulnerability beguiled the Romans, compelling them to attack with renewed vigour. The bulge seemed a sign of Hannibal's desperation, a miscalculation ripe for exploitation. But Hannibal, with his cool detachment, awaited the unfolding of his meticulously crafted plan. As the Roman legions charged, they were drawn into a carefully orchestrated retreat, a cunning manoeuvre designed to stretch their lines and leave their flanks vulnerable. Hannibal's feigned retreat was the calm before the storm. With Roman forces plunging deeper into his formation, the encircling arms of his cavalry, led by the audacious Maharbal, closed in. His cavalry shattered the Roman horsemen, leaving the Roman infantry exposed and ensnared. a perfectly executed double envelopment, perhaps the earliest recorded in military history. The battlefield, which moments before seemed a site of potential victory for Rome, turned into a death trap. For the Romans who excelled in organised formations, the sudden chaos was suffocating. Hannibal's forces encompassed them in a relentless crush of men and steel. Trapped without room to fight or flee, Roman soldiers found themselves ensnared in a nightmare. The once proud legions, modelled for disciplined combat, were reduced to primal desperation within the tightening Carthaginian grip. Discipline crumbled as the intolerable press of bodies made wielding weapons nearly impossible. Panic surged through Roman ranks, while the invigorated Carthaginian forces pushed forward with a deadly resolve. Hannibal's encirclement was not just tactical brilliance, but a masterpiece of combat art, transforming the orderly ranks of Rome into a frantic swarm fighting for survival. The aftermath was a trial, not just of tactics, but of human endurance and spirit. Roman soldiers, who clung to life in the wake of watching comrades die, carried the invisible scars of their ordeal back home. In Rome, survival was often mistaken for cowardice, and these men were exiled, sent to languish in Sicily, a mark of disgrace upon their honour. Yet in these defeats, the embers of Rome's resurgence began to glow. Their tale was not one of failure, but of a haunting resolve to rise anew, galvanised under the future leadership of Scipio Africanus. Hannibal's tactical legacy at Cannae was profound. His deft manipulation of human behaviour during the battle showed that victory transcended the mere clash of swords. It was about fracturing the very psyche of Rome. His teachings lingered, as future generals like Napoleon and Rommel admired and attempted to replicate his genius in manoeuvre warfare. This battle became a cornerstone in military education, a symbol of how a smaller force could best a more substantial one through intellect and creativity. However, few have managed to replicate its intricacies, as much relies on the steel-hard nerves and timing of its architect. Beyond his battlefield manoeuvres, Hannibal waged war on an additional dimension, psychological. By Cannae's end, he inflicted a wound deeper than the loss of territory. He had scarred Roman pride, embedding a spectre of fear that would haunt their military strategy for years. He wielded shock and awe as effectively as any blade. His relentless march and the myths of his invincibility echoed throughout Rome, a ghostly presence that loomed over their collective consciousness. Reflecting on these events, Polybius, the Greek historian, chronicled Hannibal's cunning with awe and precision. Through his detailed accounts, Hannibal emerges not only as a master strategist, but as a visionary in the art of psychological warfare. The echoes of his brilliance reverberate through time, a testament to the enduring power of adaptive strategy over brute force. In the ancient dust of Cannae's fields, Hannibal crafted a legacy of warcraft that would shape military thought for centuries, forever shifting the landscape of martial strategy and human conflict. As dawn's first light crept over the dusty fields of Cannae, a chilling stillness preceded the chaos that would soon erupt. The cool morning air, momentarily undisturbed, began to warm under the rising sun, preparing to bear witness to one of history's most brutal confrontations. When the Roman and Carthaginian forces finally clashed, Livy tells us in Ab urbe condita, the air thickened with a grisly perfume. This was no mere scent of sweat mingling with the earthy dust trampled underfoot. It was an acrid amalgam of fear, blood, and raw survival instinct, a haunting aroma seeping into every pore, impossible to ignore or escape. The sensory nightmare of Cannae was as much an assault on the nose as the flesh. the stench wrapped around the soldiers like a shroud, a perpetual reminder of their mortality and the chilling proximity of death. It was the battlefield symphony of despair and violence, composed of cries drowned out by the relentless tide of combat. This olfactory onslaught marked the memories of surviving soldiers, scarring their psyches as deeply as any physical wound. For miles beyond the carnage, the wind carried whispers of Cannae's horrors, permeating even the prayers of distant families, longing for peace that seemed forever out of reach. As metal met flesh, the earth below became a grotesque tapestry, entwined with a thief trickery of life and death. The bloodied soil absorbed more than just the physical remnants of the slain. It carried the heavy despair of those caught in history's inexorable flow towards destruction. Even as boots sloshed through mud thick with bodily remnants, the scent of violence brewed a heady miasma capable of enveloping the senses entirely. Here nature itself seemed to mourn, the gusts of wind groaning with the burden of fallen kin, a lament for the silent agony that stretched across the gruesome expanse. As day folded into night, the once vibrant landscape sank into ominous gloom, air thick with the sickly sweet stench of clotted blood and decay. Under the oppressive heat, the battlefield transformed, the gases from decomposing bodies emitting an odour that was both a profound terror and a harsh reality for those trapped in its midst. A shared encounter with death blurred the lines between victor and vanquished. In the pungent theatre of war, all were reduced to anonymous participants in a ghastly spectacle of mortality. The sheer scale of slaughter at Cannae carved an indelible mark, a morbid scent engraved into the Roman consciousness, a cruel reminder of the costs associated with clashing with Hannibal's cunning. Survivors, numb with the aftermath of bewildering brutality, journeyed home through lands steeped in sorrow, every step reinforcing the devastating irony that escape offered no relief from the haunting memories. They bore the vilifying marks of battle, grime, sweat, and the blood of their brothers, mingling into a grotesque patina that adhered to the spirit as stubbornly as to the skin. Reintegration into civilian life proved elusive when reminders of the battlefield lingered in every breath they inhaled, intertwining the scent of survival with daily existence coloured by shame, heroism, and despair. The chilling narrative of defeat became woven into the tapestry of folklore, retold in hushed voices as an emblematic scent, a haunting odour infusing fear into the hearts of a people no longer naive to war's bitter truths. The land itself, once witness to natural beauty, was transformed into a grim monument to humanity's darkest impulses. Wildlife retreated, sensing the palpable presence of death, and leaving behind only silence interrupted by the whimpering winds. The landscape, once a bounteous cradle of life, now withstood the onslaught of human savagery, its waters running red with spilled blood, echoing the stains of violence. The ruins of trees, bark stained by gore, stood as mute sentinels to a world desecrated beyond immediate repair. Even nature seemed burdened by the carnage, bearing witness to the horrors humanity could unleash and the enduring impact etched in the very soil. In the aftermath, as Romans grappled with defeat's indignities, the air carried more than just the physical stench of battle. It bore the intangible weight of divine wrath, believed to manifest through the putrid miasma clinging to women. The road to redemption lay in appeasement. Sacrifices were made, smoke wafted toward the heavens, a futile attempt to mask reality's grim odour with offerings burned in desperation. To the Romans, Livy tells us, this was not just defeating Carthage, but writing their relationship with the gods themselves. Yet, the legacy of Cannae lived on, wrapped forever in a shroud of dread, an olfactory reminder of the fragility of human ambition against the whims of fate. As the sun slipped beyond the horizon on the eve of the Battle of Cannae, the Roman camp bustled with an unsettling energy. Soldiers hurried through their final rituals, sharpening swords and whispering prayers to Mars, cloaked in an atmosphere of tense anticipation. Despite the courageous facade of their superiors, a whisper of fear coursed through the ranks. Stories of Hannibal's feared genius had reached every ear. Many young legionnaires, drafted in the wake of previous harrowing losses, found themselves confronting an uncertain morning. Canvas tents provided scant protection against the looming threat. Sleep was a distant hope as soldiers lay on the cold, unyielding ground, minds restless with anxiety. Some etched hurried letters to loved ones, inscribing their deepest fears and hopes onto primitive tablets, tokens of their potential final thoughts. The air, dense with the smell of sweat and leather, carried the gentle murmurings of last confessions, echoing ripples of apprehension about what the first light might reveal. These warriors contemplated their mortality, recognizing that their defeat would shatter more than their lives. It would shake the identity of Rome itself. At dawn's first light, the Roman legions moved toward the battlefield, their disciplined ranks a testament to military resolve. The air buzzed with tension, as if the low rumble of distant thunder carried an omen of divine wrath. Advancing shoulder to shoulder, each soldier drew courage from the comrades beside him. Yet, this steadfast unity was both strength and potential downfall if their lines were to fracture. The clash that ensued rang with the metallic symphony of war, the dust-clouded chaos alive with the cries of men, and the metallic scent of blood mingling with the earth. Though they outnumbered their foes, the Roman soldiers faced an enemy of stunning efficiency. Hannibal's forces, with their diverse and unpredictable tactics, disrupted the Romans' rigid strategies. Survivors recount feeling as if engulfed by an unstoppable beast, an infernal juggernaut bearing down upon them. Amidst this turmoil, each soldier battled not just Carthaginian warriors, but also the menacing presence of death itself. The Carthaginian tactic of double envelopment, a concept unfamiliar to many, unfolded into a nightmarish reality, enclosing the Romans in a living death trap. What began as a formidable Roman force degenerated into chaos. Trapped within the tightening circle, every swing of a sword risked both friend and foe. Surviving accounts tell of terror, as men were asphyxiated by panic and the crush of comrades, overwhelmed by the relentless cacophony of war. A purgatory stripping rank and order, leaving only raw survival. Despite the chaos, clusters of Roman soldiers mounted pockets of resistance. No longer soldiers of Rome, they became desperate warriors, fighting with primal instinct. The odds of survival shrunk with each heartbeat, yet the instinct to endure kindled a ferocious resistance. Amidst the carnage, the battlefield became a frenzied dance of life and death, survival instincts weaving a fierce defiance against overwhelming odds. Heroic last stands emerged, tales of bravery etched into the memories of those who survived. When the noise of battle faded, an oppressive silence settled over Cannae, interrupted only by the moans of the wounded. A once vibrant battlefield lay as a quiet testament to human futility. Those who made it through the slaughter were burdened with the weight of their survival, haunted by what they had witnessed. The stillness brought introspection, as survivors grappled with the hollowness left by their ordeal. questioning their cause, the orders followed, and their very beliefs. In the days that followed, survivors wrote letters home, trying to make sense of the horror. These often tremulous accounts conveyed the chaos they had endured, the reek of violence forever etched in memory. Through raw words, they sought absolution for outliving fallen comrades, hoping families could forgive and understand. These letters, candid in their vulnerability, now serve historians as windows into the ancient psyche, revealing the humanity in soldiers from a bygone era. The trauma of Cannae left an irreversible mark. Even in a society that lauded stoicism, the psychological scars ran deep. Nightmares and waking memories of the cries of the dying and the futile effort seeped into the lives of these soldiers, their pain shared only with fellow survivors. This shared suffering bound them in silent solidarity, embodying a testament to their survival and marking an indelible influence on Roman culture. The inferno of battle crafted deep bonds among surviving legionnaires. Together they found solace, united by experiences few could fathom, transcending the rigid structures of society. These men formed a fraternity rooted in mutual respect and understanding. It became a covenant to live fully, honouring lost comrades through their actions. This brotherhood outlasted physical wounds, standing as a testament to resilience and unity forged in combat. At Cannae, courage was redefined. Bravery emerged not in triumph, but in survival against despair. The legionnaires epitomised a new kind of heroism, confronting the abyss and returning altered, yet resolute. Chroniclers capture moments of valour, where men shielded comrades or managed tactical retreats amidst chaos, underscoring the humanistic nature of courage. Cannae reshaped the Roman valour narrative, where acts of care, honouring the dead, and rebuilding futures spoke louder than traditional accolades. Beyond its immediate devastation, Cannae's legacy echoed through Roman history, challenging military doctrine and societal ideals. It urged Rome to adapt tactically, emphasising flexibility over rigid strategies. More profoundly, the battle catalysed reflection on war's human toll, influencing future perspectives on honour and sacrifice. Cannae's tale, stark in its lesson, continues to resonate, offering enduring insights into leadership and the complexities of courage. In the shadow of the crushing defeat at Cannae, the Roman world was engulfed in a profound spiritual crisis. The battle was more than a military catastrophe. It was a rupture in Rome's perceived divine mandate. The Senate urgently convened, not only to patch their legions, but to address this spiritual void, a testament to a society where divine favour intertwined with military prowess. The news of their defeat spread with swift urgency through the narrow labyrinthine streets, transforming Rome's bustling forums into centres of rumour and anxious speculation. Amid this gathering storm, the echoes of silence from their gods were haunting. Fear fed superstition, and citizens flocked to augurs and priests, desperately seeking signs of reconciliation with their deities. Temples, once the bustling centres of calm reflection, became crowded sanctuaries of desperate offerings. Clay figurines and intricate sacrificial displays littered the altars, all in an effort to mend the fractured bond with their once benign patrons. Here, among the shadows of marble colonnades, superstition became both refuge and ritual, a bridge to restore Rome's balance between earthly and divine realms. When these earthly gestures failed to stir the divine, more dreadful measures emerged from Rome's ancient rituals. Human sacrifice, a rare and extreme act even for the Romans, came into unsettling focus. Plutarch chronicled these dark ceremonies that unfolded under the pressure of spiritual desperation. Rome's selection of 2 Gauls and 2 Greeks for sacrifice was as symbolic as it was tragic, reflecting both external chaos and Rome's own civilized identity. Acceptance of such a contradiction, in which the rational state bent to primordial fears, marked the depth of spiritual chaos within Rome's disciplined halls. Amidst the dissonance, augurs, the ancient interpreters of the divine, wielded unmatched influence. Their insights gleaned from birds' flight patterns, and omens became pivotal in shaping political and military decisions. During these tumultuous times, their readings carried the weight of divine promise that could sway Senate debates or pause military enforcements. Such critical reliance on augury exposed the subtleties within Roman society, caught between the calculated advances of statecraft and the mystical pull of superstition. A duality revealing Rome's struggle to anchor fate within ritualized frameworks. Sacred fires, symbolic of Rome's eternal spirit, now flickered dimly. Altars once radiant with faith stood as solemn reminders of favour lost. Priests scrambled in fervent attempts to reignite these flames, representing Rome's desperate reaching toward the divine. The altars became theatres of intense activity, where offerings sought to catch the favour of distant gods. Yet for many, these acts merely cast longer shadows on their hopes, reminding them of the seemingly unpayable debts to their divine protectors. Away from the temples, ordinary Romans embraced a more intimate brand of superstition. Domestic rituals became daily acts of spiritual safeguarding. Curse jars hidden at crossroads, whispered incantations. These practices multiplied among citizens who clung to inherited folk traditions to deter further misfortune. Such rituals passed through generations, fostered individual security and communal solidarity. Within the confines of their households and local gatherings, Romans fortified themselves in shared superstition, a bulwark against the ever-present threat of chaos. Yet, even within the upheaval, voices of skepticism emerged. Thinkers like Cicero, although more prominently in later writings, critiqued the Republic's overwhelming reliance on divine interpretations. These critical voices urged a departure from ritual extremism toward rational thought and strategic action. This tension spotlighted Rome's internal struggle, a battle for its very soul, caught between clinging to ancient traditions and embracing reasoned progress. As debates brewed, Rome began to re-evaluate its beliefs, blending tradition with emerging societal pragmatism. In this tumult, women played unseen but vital roles in preserving Rome's spiritual backbone. Figures like the Vestal Virgins safeguarded Rome's sacred fire. Their devotions are testament to endurance amidst temporal defeat. Women's domestic roles in maintaining tradition within homes, teaching rituals to children, layered unseen strength throughout Roman society. Their quiet influence extended beyond household bounds, a powerful reminder that their ostensible silence did not equate to passivity. Rome slowly adapted its rituals, seeking harmony between divine consultation and worldly action. While traditional practices remained, their integration with a critical analysis marked Rome's shifting focus from reactive superstition to proactive stability. This renewal in rituals fostered a new cultural renaissance, a movement toward modernity yet resolute in its roots. The legacy of Cannae's spiritual aftermath echoed through time, influencing not only Roman religious evolution, but also the broader tapestry of Western belief. Through its rites, Rome's resilience was enshrined, And as the stories surrounding Cannae's mysteries continued to be told, Romans discovered a legacy both haunting and hopeful, an enduring reminder of their pursuit of divine harmony amidst mortal struggle. Hannibal Barca, a man whose very name evoked a chilling testament to military genius, commanded an army as diverse as the lands that stretched under the Mediterranean sun. His force was a vibrant tapestry of Gauls, Iberians, Numidians and other peoples, each contributing a unique flair to the Carthaginian cause. These warriors, bound not by nation but by charismatic leadership, followed Hannibal with a fierce loyalty that transcended the spoken word. The Gauls, descending from regions now known as modern-day France, were drawn to Hannibal by a shared hatred for Rome's encroachment into their territories. With a terrifying demeanour, matched by wild charges and striking appearances, they wielded fear as effectively as their swords, thriving in the chaos of open battle, where their relentless spirit was unmatched. In stark contrast stood the Iberians, swift and cunning, who hailed from what is today Spain. Masters of guerrilla tactics, they brought a different edge to warfare, using agility and the deadly precision of their falcata swords to ambush and unsettle Roman skirmishes. For these warriors, an alliance with Hannibal was both a rebellion against Roman oppression and a golden opportunity for wealth. As Rome's shadow loomed large over their rugged land, the Iberians found solace and purpose in Hannibal's audacious campaign, sharing a vision of a world unshackled from Roman chains. Then there were the Numidians, unrivaled horsemen whose mastery on horseback brought a new dimension to mobility in ancient warfare. Sworn allies of Hannibal, they were not only the swift right hand of surprise attacks, but also the vigilant eyes that scouted enemy movements. Their decision to ride with Carthage's lion-hearted general was fueled by ambition and political necessity, a chance to challenge Rome's expansion while maintaining their autonomy. These cavalrymen brimmed with an adventurous spirit that was matched by the endurance of their steeds, weaving circles around their heavier adversaries with audacious ease. Scattered within this mosaic were the Celts, often romanticised as noble savages. These warriors, renowned for their raw courage, hailed from realms stretching into Britannia and beyond. With long, slashing swords and fierce resolve, they engaged foes with raw, primal energy that infused Hannibal's army with an aura of untamed valour. Hannibal's wise embrace of their culture and style exemplified his profound leader-like understanding. He fostered a mutual respect, ensuring his multifaceted army was less a traditional force and more an assemblage of fierce comrades alike, steadfast in their shared cause. Adding a different cadence to this complex orchestra were specialised units like the Balearic Slingers and Libyan infantry. The Slingers, hailing from islands cloaked in Mediterranean mists, wielded slings like modern artillery, their stones raining down upon foes with deadly precision. Libyan infantrymen brought steadfast discipline, forming close ranks with spears and shields. Together these groups enhanced Hannibal's tactical prowess, allowing him to dictate the battlefield's tempo. They demonstrated how shrewdly Hannibal harnessed these nuances into coordinated strength, blending mobility with structure to challenge even Rome's mightiest defences. At the heart of this melting pot stood native Carthaginians, the backbone of Hannibal's army, who bore the martial traditions of their home with unwavering resolve. These soldiers, seasoned in Carthaginian stratagems, provided continuity and coherence in an army so wildly varied in tongues and customs. As stalwart pillars, anchoring this campaign's ambitions, They ensured order and the seamless execution of Hannibal's military vision. Their enduring presence symbolised the very essence of Carthage's investment in Hannibal's bold and expansive enterprise. Hannibal's command extended beyond tactical brilliance. It was his ability to inspire loyalty and unity in diversity that defined his leadership. Speaking with an eloquence that transcends languages, he wove a coherent tapestry of loyalty among distinct groups, transforming mercenaries into devoted followers. His charismatic approach, where he shared the hardships and victories equally, forged a strong bond between himself and his warriors. This unique relationship surpassed mere transactional allegiance, instilling a shared identity among them. Each soldier, whether Gaul, Iberian or Numidian, felt the mythic pull of Hannibal's campaign, a dynamic story in which they played pivotal roles. The stories, rich with the exploits of each contingent, grew into legends, a hall of myths echoing through the annals of time. Such narratives, blending fact and legend, painted Hannibal's army as a heroic ensemble, united against Rome in an epic, historic contest. Their endeavours, framed within this grand saga, emboldened their spirits, reinforcing their shared destiny. This legacy of diversity sculpted into valiant harmony proved not just an enduring testament to Hannibal's strategic acumen, but a timeless narrative of unity amidst chaos, of resonating strength through varied voices unified against a common foe. In the hazy shadows of the battlefield at Cannae, the Roman Empire stood at the brink of financial collapse. This was no ordinary defeat. It was a cataclysm that left Rome reeling under the weight of its losses. Caesar's recounting of this calamitous moment underscores not only the military ramifications, but the economic shockwaves that reverberated through Roman life. As Rome mourned its fallen soldiers, upwards of 70,000, the economic reality settled like a thick fog over the Republic. The urgent need to replenish the legions meant deep cuts into the treasury, a dire situation chronicled in Cato the Elder's Chronicles. The bustling markets of Rome, normally resonant with optimism, now echoed with unease as the economy writhed in turmoil. The clang of hammers in blacksmith shops was relentless as Rome scrambled to rebuild its arsenal, while inflation slithered stealthily into the marketplace. The price of grain spiked, imported from the ever-crucial fields of Sicily and Sardinia, feeding unrest among the hungry populace. Daily life was a pendulum swinging ominously between chronic anxiety and fleeting hope. Rome's economic engine had stalled, a once mighty force now sputtering under the heavy mantle of war. Fields once vibrant with ripening crops now lay silent and still, a ghostly reminder of the lost Roman farmers who had vanished into the maw of war. The empire's strength, historically rooted in its agrarian foundation, faltered. The vast swathes of barren terrain begged the question, who would work the land? Desperate measures emerged. Rome's gaze shifted toward the fringes of its social order, toward slaves and the landless. Veterans, scarred and weary, were lured with promises of land, yet their promise often proved hollow, echoing the barren landscapes they were meant to till. From the stony silence of the Senate chambers, whispers of debt swirled with a sense of urgency. Like an insatiable beast, the Republic devoured gold and silver in its attempt to maintain its footing. In troubled times, military creditors demanded recompense, and Rome found itself trapped in a game of chance, its future gambled on the uncertain aftermath of conquest. Despite the frantic efforts of the Senate, the financial deficit widened ominously. casting long and ominous shadows over the market stalls and everyday life. The core of this economic tumult lay in the impossible choices faced by the Republic, choices that tore at the very fabric of Rome itself. The weighty decision to arm or feed, to forge swords or bake bread, laid bare the heart of Rome's dilemma. The metallic clatter of armour seemed to drown out the groans of hunger that rose from the city's narrow alleys. Rome's policymakers, caught between feeding the juggernaut of war and sustaining their citizen base, found themselves grasping at solutions, desperate compromises veiling the fragile threads of Rome's vaunted power. Even as Rome trembled from within, its external trade routes remained turbulent, the lifeline of an empire buffeted by suspicion and competition. Hannibal's onslaught didn't just jeopardise Roman military supremacy, it shook the very bedrock of Rome's mercantile network. The Mediterranean's once serene dominion seethed with adversaries eager to cut economic channels and sever Rome's essential lifelines. Yet from chaos sprang innovation, as merchants adapted and new alliances unfurled across dangerous waters. In the aftermath, taxes loomed over Rome's citizenry like an ominous cloud, threatening economic ruin. Cato's chronicles paint a grim picture of burdensome new levies sapping the lifeblood of farmers and artisans alike, their jangling purses ever lighter. Discontent simmered in marketplace whispers and echoed through rural hollows, a growing murmur of rebellion against economic shackles tightening around them. While men faltered, Rome's women emerged from the shadows. In a society reluctantly transforming in the face of calamity, women began to fill roles vacated by fallen men. Once tethered to the hearth, they ventured into the economic arena, transforming the marketplaces with their enterprise. Textiles, spices, and wares bore their entrepreneurial mark, even if their newfound presence sparked resistance amid staunch patriarchal norms. At this crossroads, the monumental task of reconstruction presented itself as a beacon of hope. What death and destruction had decimated, grit and determination sought to rebuild. With relentless resolve, Rome embarked upon a campaign to heal and rise anew. From the ashes, infrastructure emerged. A reimagined Rome bound together by new roads, vibrant forums, and vital aqueducts, marking the saga of human resilience in the face of despair. The financial legacy of Cannae would echo through Rome's story. This cataclysm moulded their fiscal strategies and shifted economic policies for generations to come. A tale of ruin giving rise to an era of resilience, transforming the Republic's approach to warfare and economy. Around their hearths and arenas, from the steely resolve of debt-ridden senators to the subtle vigour of merchant craft, the whispers of Cannae became testaments of endurance, a lesson in forging strength from adversity's crucible. In the aftermath of Cannae, a curious paradox lay over Rome like a shadow. Honour, that intangible force that shaped Roman lives and decisions, was put to the severest test. Those who survived the devastating clash returned not as celebrated victors, but as living reminders of one of the Republic's darkest days. The dual reality of Roman valour, where falling in battle was idealised, clashed with their survival, perceived not as a testament to bravery, but as a symbol of failure. Livy paints a vivid picture of these men, trapped in a cultural narrative that questioned their courage. They had navigated the chaos of combat and returned home seeking absolution in a society that looked upon them with suspicion. The scars they bore, both physical and psychological, told stories of survival against great odds. Yet these scars were not embraced within the societal lens of Rome. Unlike the heroic mutilations in epic tales, these marks failed to clear them of cowardice. Instead, they highlighted an uncomfortable societal contradiction, where courage was demanded, survival was suspect. Livy illuminated this troubling transition, as soldiers once seen as defenders of the Republic found themselves outcasts. They faced bleak futures, their suffering compounded by social stigmas that mirrored the glaring scars from battle. Commanders too walked a precarious line between honour and disgrace. After Cannae's disaster, their once envied positions became traps of blame. Rome's society demanded they achieve the impossible: victory or death. The state had no room for commanders who survived without exploiting the battlefield's chaos to secure triumph. Livy's accounts foreshadow the relentless public scrutiny these leaders faced, with political retribution adding to their woes. Seldom were they praised for their survival instincts. Rather, they were subjected to intense censure from a disgruntled nation eager to assign blame. Navigating the political landscape of Rome required deft skill. After the defeat, the Senate, eager for accountability, unleashed a storm of accusations. These commanders, who once fought for Rome, now fought for their reputations in an arena full of watchful, critical eyes. Livy artfully describes this psychological warfare, where survival now depended on political acumen. Alliances were formed and blame deflected as those unprepared faced relentless scorn, stripped of their dignity and dreams. The ripple effects of Cannae were not confined to military ranks. They seeped through every layer of Roman society. The sense of collective vulnerability tested the societal fabric, as the defeat challenged the myths of invincibility that had long sustained Roman pride. Disdain simmered in public discourse, fueled by grief and anger. Rome's solution lay not in addressing the psychological scars of defeat, but in an increased dedication to militarization and stoic resilience. Leaders channeled this collective despair into a narrative of shared struggle, forging a resurgence of Rome's martial spirit. Yet the Battle of Cannae also questioned the morality of Rome's belief in fate, fortuna. How could an army driven by honour meet such devastating defeat? Livy contemplates whether fate's capriciousness could teach Rome humility, and in its dark irony, whether lessons of the past could guide future triumphs. The narratives emerging from Cannae offered an opportunity for the Republic to embrace wisdom alongside valour, and to shape future endeavours with newfound discernment about the whims of fortune. In the shadows of grand historical narratives, hidden heroes emerged whose experiences provided crucial insights into Rome's resilience. Post-defeat. These were not the heroes of triumphant parades, but those who found strength in silence. Livy captures these characters, men who returned to simple lives and reimagined their roles beyond battlefield glory. Their quiet courage offered a nuanced perspective on honour, adapting to tragic circumstances and highlighting the adaptability lying beneath Rome's rigid veneer. The echoes of Cannae were immortalised not just in words but in stone. Monuments arose to commemorate the struggle and spirit of survival, serving as sober reminders of a past marred by defeat. These structures stopped short of glorifying victory. Instead, they told of endurance and reconciled adversity with resilience. As Livy observed, these monuments did more, igniting public reflection on mortality and fortitude. Themes that Cannae had rendered starkly tangible. Whispered tales of Rome's past reveal an inclination for introspection, layered with a desire to suppress and rethink ancient truths. Livy, our guide through these tales, unveils a Rome confronting its own spectres and ironies, where history defies simplistically lauded glory. Such stories survive the ravages of time, serving as gentle reminders of valour mingled with vulnerability. In the calm stillness over the turbulent waters of history, the lesson from Cannae endures. Honour shaped by trial and error emerged refined but not infallible. Livy's gaze spans ages, embodying a Rome that reconciles its flaws with resilience, elevating its discourse beyond mere survival. History becomes a tapestry, woven with strands of valour and wisdom, a legacy inviting all to reflect on the breadth and depth of human experience. The year 216 BCE marked the zenith of Carthaginian ambition, etched into the annals of warfare by the staggering triumph at Cannae. Under the steely gaze of Hannibal Barca, Carthage had delivered a blow that left Rome reeling. This victory encapsulated not just military prowess, but the lofty hopes of a general dreaming of collapsing Roman hegemony. Yet, the raw power displayed on that blood-soaked field revealed an unforeseen Achilles heel, not on the battlefront, but in the political halls of Carthage itself. Hannibal stood poised, his path seemingly clear, ready to strike at the heart of Rome. But back in Carthage, the celebratory echoes dwindled into whispers of complacency. In the Senate, a cautious temperament ruled the day. Hannibal's vision of Rome in ruins found itself at odds with a political class that valued commerce over conquest. There was an expectation of swift victory, yet this transformed into a protracted war, a cadence unwelcomed by an oligarchy entrapped in mercantile pursuits. The bustling trade routes and marine enterprises dominated their focus, overshadowing Hannibal's pleas for reinforcements and resources. Despite his accomplishments, Hannibal found himself hamstrung by a political system slow to respond and fraught with internal squabbles. In Rome, panic gave way to steely determination. The city began to retrench and regroup, putting into motion a strategy of resilience. Meanwhile, Hannibal's forces found themselves fatigued, their lines of supply stretched across vast lands. The Italian allies did not flock to his banner, as anticipated. Many cities remained staunchly in Rome's fold, bound by loyalty and shared advantages. Rome's promises of protection, coupled with relentless retribution against defectors, fortified their resolve. Despite Hannibal's hope to incite rebellion, the intricate web of Roman diplomacy and social contracts held firm. The opportunity at Rome's gates seemed within grasp, yet Hannibal hesitated. His legions, formidable yet under-resourced, watched as the chance for a decisive siege slipped away. Contrary to the bold manoeuvres on the battlefield, the Carthaginian political machinery lagged, ensnaring his plans in a web of indifference and strategic inertia. The years trudged on, Hannibal's mighty presence in Italy fading into a stalemate of skirmishes. With Carthaginian support wavering and Rome's adaptation manifesting new strategies under leaders like Scipio Africanus, the landscape shifted inexorably. Hannibal's historical brilliance at military stratagems is unquestioned, yet transforming tactical victories into lasting gain eluded him amidst political indecisiveness. The Italian cities that didn't betray Rome reaffirmed their allegiances, preferring the devil they knew to potential chaos. Hannibal's campaigns gradually lost momentum, culminating in a strategy of attrition rather than conquest. Rome, resilient and methodical, began to seize the advantage with calculated patience. Their adaptive military doctrine shifted tides, resilient against repeated incursions, and slowly tilted the balance in their favour. Ultimately, the lack of decisive Carthaginian political support forced Hannibal to retreat. His retreat was less a failure of military might than a concession to the unyielding realities of a discordant home front. Returning to Carthage, he anticipated a hero's welcome, but met a muted reception filled with skepticism and disappointed ambition. The formidable general, who had once instilled fear in Roman hearts, now faced a city preoccupied with its economic sanctity over his unfulfilled ambitions. Hannibal's legacy, however, is enduring. Though his Italian campaign didn't manifest in Carthaginian dominance, it fostered profound change. Rome, by absorbing and learning from its defeats, reformed its military ethos. The campaigns against Hannibal indoctrinated future generals, embodying Hannibal's brilliance as an inspiring yet cautionary tale of wartime strategy. His life became a lesson that transcends mere battle tactics, exemplifying the intricate ballet of logistics, leadership, and unwavering political support. Thus, while Hannibal could not dismantle Rome, his shadow shaped its future. The Roman military, adapting to his innovative methods, emerged strengthened and more formidable. The battles of Hannibal rendered more than epics of ancient courage. They provoked a renaissance that would ensure Rome's dominance for centuries. His story serves as a stark reminder that even unmatched tactical prowess can succumb to the quiet, pervasive weight of unaligned political interests. Hannibal's narrative echoes throughout history as a testament to bold strategies, ambitious visions, and the tragic echoes of missed opportunities. The Battle of Cannae remains etched in history as one of Rome's most staggering defeats. It was a bitter memory that rippled through ages, embedding itself in military strategy and cultural lore. Discoveries between 2020 and 2023 have shed new light on the battlefield's layout, unearthing stories that define the harsh reality faced by Roman legions on that fateful day in 216 BC. With relics narrating tales of relentless struggle and catastrophic loss, experts piece together shards of weaponry, armour, and remains, unveiling the strategies that unfolded amidst dust and despair. The landscape still whispers the chaos of that conflict, serving as a haunting testament to a moment when Rome's invincibility was cunningly shattered by Hannibal. The scars inflicted at Cannae reached deep into the Roman psyche, reshaping not only military doctrines, but also cultural narratives around the Republic's vulnerabilities. This scar taught humility and instilled caution in warfare, pushing the construction of emblems that commemorated valour while mourning losses. These tales of bravery, intertwined with the inevitability of fate against Hannibal's trap, became foundational stories, emphasising endurance and reflection within Roman society. Even amidst grief, Rome's resilient spirit fostered a beacon for future victories, establishing Cannae as emblematic of recovery and adaptation in warfare's sphere. Hannibal's tactical mastery at Cannae ignited centuries of military study, dramatically influencing strategic doctrines across the globe. Generals from Napoleon Bonaparte to Frederick the Great admired Hannibal's artful envelopment of a numerically superior foe, often seeking to replicate this manoeuvre, which became a centerpiece in military academies and tactical manuals. Recent archaeological finds have rejuvenated contemporary military understanding, blending ancient artifacts with fresh interpretations, keeping Hannibal's legacy alive. Yet despite this tactical brilliance, the Battle of Cannae was underscored by an irony. Though victorious, Carthage failed to capitalise strategically, missing a crucial chance to press Rome. This paradox, tactical genius overshadowed by strategic misjudgments, served as a lasting lesson in balancing immediate successes with a broader strategic vision. Modern analysts draw from these insights, translating them into discussions about contemporary conflicts, underscoring the need for a deft balance between tactical execution and strategic foresight. The defeat at Cannae propelled profound reforms within Rome, altering its military and political landscape. The Senate, grappling with monumental losses, implemented comprehensive changes, including revisiting recruitment strategies and fostering more flexible legion formations. New conscription practices emerged, broadening societal participation and crystallizing a more adaptable armed force. These changes weren't merely tactical, but symbolized Rome's unwavering resolve to transcend adversity. Beyond military adjustments, the Senate urgently addressed the economic distress wrought by Cannae's losses. Stability and public morale were intertwined with economic resilience. Land reforms aimed at sustaining agricultural output and compensating military families, coupled with altered trade policies, ensured resources remained available to the Republic, nurturing a slow yet sure return to stability. These transformations underscored Rome's capability to recover, balancing military requirements with societal needs, paving the way for redemption. Cannae's legacy permeated Roman literature and public consciousness, a narrative etched with sombre tones by writers like Livy and Polybius. Their accounts transcended mere historic recounting, transforming Cannae into a cautionary tale about pride and resilience, evoked through artworks and dramatic performances undertaken to keep the lessons alive. Told and retold, these narratives became beacons of national solidarity and perseverance, offering reassurance of Rome's potential for resurgence. Survivors of Cannae carried both visible scars and haunting memories of their ordeal, sharing stories of the brutal reality and camaraderie lost. These testimonies enriched Roman historical narratives, offering cautionary insights into personal and collective endurance. In rehabilitating these veterans, Rome faced complex challenges of reintegration, while ensuring they found roles solidifying institutional memory. From logistics to training, survivors' experiences contributed to Rome's resilient strategy, blending past lessons with future preparation. Cannae's spectre extended into modern military discourse, frequently cited as both a triumph of tactical brilliance and a failure of strategic follow-through. Analysis has revealed the enduring importance of a holistic strategy that fuses tactical acumen with a structured strategic vision, resonating within contemporary military paradigms. Cannae remains a touchstone for command, control, and communication, bridging lessons from ancient skirmishes with modern crises. In business strategy and crisis management, Cannae's echoes offer invaluable lessons. The concept of strategic encirclement, akin to Hannibal's envelopment, finds analogies within competitive environments today. Modern strategists are urged to harness agile and adaptive approaches, deriving insights into leadership and resource management. The strategic shortcomings of post-Cannae Carthage continue to offer caution, reminding leaders that enduring success depends equally on vision beyond immediate victories. Amidst Hannibal's triumph lies an irony, unheeded lessons warning against complacency. Carthage's failure to decisively use its advantage at Cannae stands as a reminder that overwhelming victories necessitate consolidation into enduring gains. Debates flourish over potential outcomes. Had Carthage's strategy mirrored Hannibal's tactical brilliance, opening historical spectrums of renewed speculation? Archaeological strides post-2020 have invigorated understanding of Cannae. Unearthed artefacts now illuminate ancient warfare methodologies, allowing experts to juxtapose these findings with historic narratives. Technological advances enable detailed reconstructions, offering glimpses into past strategic interactions. Each discovery recontextualizes historical interpretations, preserving the enduring lessons and legacy of Cannae in military history. The spirit of Cannae endures, embedded within the annals of military scholarship, casting long shadows across history. This battle serves as an allegory for resilience, stimulating reflection on power dynamics and leadership foresight. Reinforcing history's truths through ongoing retellings, it remains a cornerstone of modern understanding, inviting perpetual exploration to inform the present. As the saga of Cannae unfolds, it reminds us of the enduring capacity to learn from adversity, a testament to humanity's resilience and ingenuity. For those captivated by history's allure, don't forget to like and subscribe, ensuring you're part of every unfolding chapter of the past.